Zafar Islam, people are having to refer to the investigation in the United States because none of the Indian investigative agencies have done their job. The SEBI probe on 22 items, 20 of which are resolved, 2 still ongoing, has been going on for a long time. There's no clarity on that. We're now told by officials within SEBI that they're looking at whether information was withheld while these disclosures were made. The problem, these questions arise because no government investigative agency went out and pursued this case with any passion.
How can you say that they were dispassionate? And this is another allegation you are making without any basis. This is absolutely incorrect on our part, or for that matter, anybody who makes this kind of allegation on Indian institution who is independent, and they are pursuing whatever they need to pursue as per the guidelines, the prescribed guidelines. So it is an unfair statement by anyone who makes this kind of a statement against the institution, Indian institution. Having said that, the investigation has been conducted. They found nothing wrong which is being done by the Adani Group. There are many global investors have invested there. They are comfortable. Only merely few bond investors, if they have made this kind of a allegation, or somebody has made this allegation, they need to be investigated. And unless you are proving him guilty, unless if he has been proved guilty, how can you make him this kind of a statement against a man who is doing business with everyone, not only in India but globally? And he has been acceptable. He has been an acceptable, and the response should come from the Congress and the opposition parties. Actually, the allegation is that Mr. Adani has bribed these government. Who were the government? Who were in the government? Was it a BJP-led government? It was Congress-led government.
But that's an important point. Let Supresh Srinath respond. From Chhattisgarh run by Bhupesh Baghel to Andhra Pradesh run by Jagan Reddy to Tamil Nadu run by your alliance partner DMK, except for Jammu and Kashmir, the union territory which was administered by the centre, the other charges are against state governments run by opposition-ruled parties, including the Congress.
Fair point, but I will first fact-check my friend Zafar Islam here. Zafar, after 18 months of the Supreme Court asking the SEBI to investigate, the SEBI in a written affidavit signed by no less than the SEBI chief said that we have drawn a blank, and only after that did facts come to light that she was invested in funds that were associated with Adani. She had conflict of interest with companies whose ruling she was passing. She was trading. She had ESOPs of companies where she had given judgment. So please, let's not go there, because the Supreme Court was actually in many ways manipulated by the SEBI, which said we have drawn a blank. That's point number one. And point number, I will come to you, they will come to you for a response. Please wait. You are talking about institutions. The Department of Revenue Intelligence wanted to probe Adani on over-invoicing. You know who stopped them? Your government. And your Ministry of Finance told them not to pursue that matter. That matter landed in the court. So please do not take this matter elsewhere. The jurisdiction is with you, and you have refused to do anything. On the question that you're raising, Rahul, it's a very important question. That question needs to be dealt with. We have said if there is any wrong, probe everybody, including our chief ministers. But both Mr. Stalin and both Mr. Bhupesh Baghel have come out. I'm talking about these two, and then I'll talk about the rest. Have come out and said this was done by the previous governments. We've got nothing to do with it. You are free to investigate. You are free to probe. That talks a lot. But as far as Jagan Reddy and Naveen Babu are concerned, we know exactly who they were protecting all along in the last 10 months. And J&K was being managed by the center. It was an administered union territory managed by you. But I will go back to the point I was making. The first round of bribes happened at the Solar Energy Corporation of India, an enterprise of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, because they could not sign power purchasing agreements because power was very expensive. They took bribes and in turn paid bribes. Something has to be done about this company, which is a direct PSU under the central government.
Zafar Islam wants to make a quick counter, and then I go to Vijay Kanwal. Go ahead.
Along with Gautam Adani and people.
I need to ask.
Just to put the record straight.
I need to ask my friend Supriya that 100 crore donation to Telangana Congress by Adani Group, was it donation or was it a bribe? Can you just respond to that? Second, the UPA government has given projects worth 1 lakh crore during 10 years of their regime to Adani Group. Was it on the basis of bribe they have taken, or it was on the basis of merit of the Adani Group. I mean, there are many things which needs to be answered by UPA government, needs to be answered by Congress regime, because he has become a big businessman under the leadership of the either Congress chief minister or supported by UPA government. And she was talking about he visited with whenever the Prime Minister visited, he also visited those countries. Didn't he visit when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh visited with many countries? Didn't he visit as a businessman?
Okay, that's the response. So I want to go across to Vijay Agarwal now. Here's the point. Just one second, Supriya, I'll come back to you. Now there is an arrest warrant against Mr. Adani. It's not new. It happened last month. It's been made public now. So it's available. It's been unsealed in the US court now. So that's how this is known. What does that mean from a legal perspective in terms of what happens next? This is stage 5 of this case. Then there's stage 6 and 7. And how does this impact things like Mr. Adani's ability to raise finance internationally or travel internationally?
My understanding is that somebody, though I do not have personal access to any of the classified information, somebody read to me those lines. It says that there is a warrant for, though I doubt that information, people are saying that it's in public domain. It reads that there is a warrant of arrest for obtaining documents. My understanding is that for these things, the procedure is later rogatories. It is not as if like a James Bond movie, somebody will come with the handcuffs and jump on the plane, then going to pick some person. There is no such arrest warrant like this, as far as my understanding goes. And I have done these cases. Nothing of that sort happened in a Mehul Choksi case, Nirav Modi case. It never happens, number one. Otherwise, there would have been warrants in Canada for who's who of this country, the way Canada is doing. So no such warrants are being issued. And Rahul, if you look at the judgment, this 54-page document which is floating, I find it ludicrous. It is just an indictment. Please look at para 45 of this document. It says that $2 billion profit was to be made. And para 49 says that the bribe paid is $265 million. On a financial calculator, if you put $265 million at a 10% rate of interest, one would make $2 billion. So it is ludicrous that why will one pay a $265 million bribe so that one makes in 20 years this $2 billion. So the one would deposit the money in the bank. So this is one thing. And the second thing is that it is only an indictment. That happens in coal scam. The ex-prime minister who was holding the charge of the Ministry of Coal was also indicted. Nothing happened. So it is only an indictment. People are speaking as if there is some conviction. I'm sorry. And people are saying there is a bar on the travel. One needs to understand it legally. I mean, one need not just talk for the show or for like a coffee table book. For some travel restriction and business restriction, the procedure is Interpol, which issues the RCN. There is no such RCN. Had there been an arrest warrant, it would go to RCN. There is an Interpol office in France, Lyon. So they coordinate and they put a travel restriction, they put a business restriction. They issue a blue card notice for the information whether the person is passing port, and they will issue the red notice so that the person is not able to travel. So it is only an indictment in the business and in a
Supriya, this is important to remember as well that this is the framing of charges, as it were, in an Indian context. This is not a conviction, and there are many cases where there can be a plea bargain, you can settle out of court. In the manner in which the opposition has taken it up, it almost seems as if you are convinced that he is guilty ultimately, and even the court documents say so, that everyone's innocent till they are proven guilty, and this case is still to go into trial.
With all due respect to the argument that you just made and I heard, I hope and I wish Indian media starts applying some of that to when these charges are leveled against politicians. I mean, 2 chief ministers, democratically elected chief ministers, were jailed on charges. They were jailed. One of them was jailed through the Lok Sabha campaign, wasn't even allowed out. And this similar bonhomie wasn't shown then. This similar broad-mindedness and, refutal of these are only charges wasn't shown then. But I want to just make a very small point. And that point is on what Zafar Islam said, that Mr. Adani became big. Let me just give you an example in the next 30 seconds and let the viewers be the judge of what has happened with Mr. Adani. Mr. Adani wanted NDTV, CBI raids NDTV, Mr. Adani acquires that. CCI raids Ambuja Cement is acquired by Mr. Adani. ED raids GVK, GVK Airport comes to Mr. Adani. IT raids Quint. Quint is bought by Mr. Adani. Income tax raids Nellore Krishnapatnam port. That port is acquired and bought by Adani soon after. It doesn't end there. There are about 10 companies, and I will not waste your time taking through some of them, but the companies like Lanco, Amartech, HDIL, Radius Estate, these are companies that owed about 62,000 crore rupees to banks in India. These companies end up in the NCLT. Mr. Adani pays 16,000 crore rupees. The due amount was 62,000 crore rupees. He pays 16,000 crore rupees and he gets all of these companies at pittance. This is all happening at the behest of the Indian government. This is happening with the help of the CBI and the ED and the income tax, which is raiding. I mean, Shree Cement wanted Sanghi. How blatant can another example be? Shree Cement was raided, out of the race. Sanghi was bought by Mr. Adani just a few months back. And I would want to point out here, because I did not want to embarrass my friend too much, but I do want to point out, 2015, Mr. Modi goes to Bangladesh. August 2015, Mr. Adani wins a contract there. Malaysia, same pattern. Singapore, same pattern. Israel, same pattern. Sri Lanka, same pattern. Nepal, same pattern. Tanzania, same pattern. Kenya, same pattern. Till Kenya cancelled it. I want to ask you a question. And I think, forget about us being from political parties and journalists and experts. As Indians, my head hung in shame when I saw the Kenyan president get up and address his house and the loud cheering that happened when he announced the cancellation of a project. Mr. Adani represented India there, and my head hangs in shame that his project had to be cancelled on charges of corruption, and there was loud cheering from Kenya. This is what you are doing to India. You are doing a lot of damage to our capital markets, to our corporates, to our reputation, and to the whole assumption of rule of law and order in this country.